Kevin strutted into the conference room at 9 a.m. sharp on Monday. He had that razor-sharp smirk on his face, the look of a man who has already won. He had been waiting all year for this moment. He was expecting the Project Phoenix report to be sitting right there in that fancy leather box on the table, his golden ticket to the regional director's chair. But when Kevin placed his hand on the lid, he did not notice the strange scent lingering in the cold, sterile office air. It was not the usual smell of laser toner or cheap break-room coffee. It was the smell of expensive aged wine and the rich, buttery scent of high-end pastries. He unlatched the lock. Click. The sound was dry and sharp in the absolute silence. He threw the lid open, ready for imaginary applause. But the smirk vanished. Inside, there were no charts, no strategic plans. Lying carelessly on the velvet lining were 3 empty wine bottles, crumbs from gold-flaked cookies, and a receipt that was rolled up like a sleeping snake. Kevin's hands trembled as he picked it up. His eyes darted to the bottom line. The bold, black number next to total didn't just exceed the budget. It was enough to buy a luxury car. He was speechless. Then he screamed, a scream of pure terror when he realized the legacy he had been waiting for was nothing but empty bottles. Greetings, dear listeners. Before I get into this story, a story about how I burned through a toxic boss's budget to throw myself a farewell party, I ask you to support the channel. Please hit subscribe and smash that like button. It helps stories of workplace justice like this get heard. And let me know in the comments what city you're listening from, or tell me about the worst boss you've ever had. It warms my spirit to know I'm not alone in this fight. Now, enjoy the story. The office door had closed behind me 3 months ago, but the suffocating pressure of that place still haunts me every night. It was the smell of old carpet that had never been shampooed, the smell of hot laser ink, and the smell of cold pizza, my main food group during my 5 years of dedication to that company. I remember that fateful Friday night like it was yesterday. The clock on the wall read 9:30 p.m. The entire building was dark, except for my cubicle, shining like a lonely lighthouse in a dark sea, not to guide ships, but to warn people to stay away. The silence was predatory. It was waiting to drain the last bit of energy out of me. My stomach twisted into a knot, a familiar pain. It was not just hunger, it was exhaustion. In front of me sat a slice of pepperoni pizza that had gone stone cold. The cheese congealed into rubber. That was the reward Kevin left for the team before he clocked out at 5 p.m. to make his tea time. My phone buzzed. An Instagram notification. Kevin had just posted a new photo. There he was, posing with a golf club on the lush green grass of a 5-star resort, a radiant smile under the sunset. The caption hit me like a slap in the face. Grinding for the passion. Busy weekend prepping for big projects. Busy, right. I looked down at my keyboard with the letters worn off, at the flickering monitor I had been begging to replace for 2 years, only for Kevin to say, it's not in the budget. Yet he had the budget for a genuine leather massage chair in his private office, claiming it was for recharging his productivity, while he wouldn't approve $50 for a new stick of RAM so I wouldn't have to watch the spinning wheel of death every time I exported a file. Just push through this project, Sarah. His voice played in my head like a broken record. I've already recommended you for partner. Nail this deadline and that VP chair is yours. That was the carrot he had dangled in front of me for 5 years, and like a good little donkey, I kept pulling the cart. I missed my mom's birthday, my little sister's graduation, and canceled my anniversary trip just for these empty promises. I had turned myself into a corporate slave, a machine that typed and put out fires, only to receive cold pizza and chronic back pain. I stood up to get some water to trick my stomach. The printer in the corner groaned like an arthritic old woman. I walked past the empty desks of my coworkers, people smarter than me who had gone home early. My eyes landed on the suit jacket Kevin had left on his chair, and right next to it, lying carelessly on his messy desk, was a sleek black credit card, the corporate card. Kevin usually guarded it with his life. He always called it the diplomatic client budget, strictly for VIPs. But I knew better. Those VIPs were usually just him and his golf buddies. I picked it up. It felt cold and heavy in my hand. Normally, I would have left it there, maybe even texted Kevin to remind him to secure it. But tonight, my empty stomach and that golf photo woke something up in me. Not greed, but a desire for fairness. I remembered what Kevin said that morning. "Sarah, take this and grab coffee for the client. Keep the receipt." But the client canceled, and he forgot to ask for it back. I looked at the rubbery pizza on my desk, then at the card. Why should I eat garbage while my hard work pays for Kevin's Wagyu beef? I opened my food delivery app. I skipped the fast food. I scrolled straight to fine dining. Le Monde Steakhouse. I had walked past it 1,000 times, always keeping my head down, afraid to look at the menu prices in the window. But tonight, I wasn't looking at the price. "I'll take the ribeye, medium rare," I mumbled as I tapped the screen, my finger trembling slightly. "Add the pan-seared foie gras and the truffle mushroom soup." The total for a dinner for one was exactly half my base monthly salary. I held my breath and entered the card info. A second passed, feeling like a century. Transaction approved. The green text on the screen looked like absolution. My heart pounded in my chest, not from fear, but from adrenaline. A surge of energy shot down my spine. 30 minutes later, the delivery guy showed up with sturdy boxes tied with silk ribbons, smelling so seductive I almost cried. I didn't eat at my messy desk. I took everything into the main conference room, where Kevin usually sat at the head of the table to criticize us. I turned all the lights on. I spread out a napkin. The beef melted in my mouth, rich and sweet. The richness of the foie gras mixed with the earthy aroma of the truffle. I closed my eyes, savoring every bite. This was not just the taste of food, it was the taste of respect, the taste of dignity. For the first time in 5 years, I felt like the company was treating me appropriately. After eating, I wiped my mouth with a thick linen napkin. I looked at my reflection in the glass window. The woman in the reflection didn't look haggard or submissive anymore. She was smiling, a mysterious smile. If Kevin could use this card to entertain clients, and I'm the one doing the $1 million project, doesn't that make me a key partner? I deserved to be catered to. The next few days passed in a strange haze. I stopped bringing bag lunches. At noon, I booked tables at the most expensive restaurants in the district, dragging the starving interns along with me. "Today, we're having a strategy meeting at Hokkaido Sushi," I announced calmly. The kids looked at me with wide eyes, but when they saw me swipe the corporate card with confidence, they cheered. We ate fresh sashimi, whole red lobsters. Kevin didn't suspect a thing. He was too busy at the spa prepping his acceptance speech to check the daily statements. Besides, I carefully labeled every expense as potential partner networking. The initial guilt vanished quickly, replaced by a sense of rightful compensation. I was reclaiming what was mine: my youth, the sleepless nights, the premature wrinkles, all being converted into 5-star lunches. But every party has to end, and mine didn't end because the money ran out, but because the naked truth was exposed. It was Thursday afternoon, 2 days before the deadline. The communal printer jammed again, a chronic illness of that ancient machine. Kevin had just printed a thick stack of documents from his private office, but was too lazy to pick them up. I sighed, walked over and opened the tray to pull out the crumpled paper. The first sheet I pulled out was a list. The header was bold and sharp: Q4 Personnel Restructuring Plan. I smoothed out the paper. The letters danced before my eyes, but the name on the first line under termination stood out clear as day. Sarah Jenkins, project lead. Reason: seniority pay too high, does not fit the lean structure. Effective date: Monday, immediately following Project Phoenix handover. Note: terminate prior to end-of-year bonus payout to save budget. The world around me collapsed. The air in the office suddenly felt thick, unbreathable. I stood frozen, gripping the paper until my knuckles turned white. So that was it. There was no partner position, no promotion, no recognition. It was all a lie, a cold, calculated plan. Kevin had squeezed every drop of labor out of me to finish the project so he could take the credit, and the moment I was useless, he was going to toss me to the curb like a dry lemon peel. He wanted to fire me before the bonus locked in so he could swallow that money himself. A chill ran down my spine. Not the AC. It was the ice growing from the inside when you realize the person you trusted and served for 5 years is not just a bad boss, he's a monster. I looked toward Kevin's office. The door was closed. He was sitting in there, probably dreaming about his director chair and the massive bonus he would get off my blood and sweat. A wave of fury rose in my chest. Not loud, hot anger, but a cold, crystal-clear fury. I folded the paper and put it in my pocket. I walked back to my desk. I looked at my monitor, where the project file sat at 99% complete. One click of send, and Kevin gets everything he wants, and I get a pink slip on Monday morning. No, I whispered. No way in hell. I reached for the thick Rolodex on the corner of my desk, the one containing contacts for the city's most exclusive service providers that I had collected for company client parties, but Kevin never approved. I flipped to E, event planners, luxury and elite services. I picked up the phone. The dial tone was long and steady. I started dialing. Every button press felt like a weight lifting off my shoulders. "Royal Events, how may I help you?" a sweet voice answered. "Hi." My voice sounded strangely calm, even to myself. "This is Sarah, representing Sterling Corp. I want to book a project celebration party." "Certainly, ma'am. What is the scale?" "The biggest scale you have," I said, staring at Kevin's door. "The diamond package, 5-star yacht, imported wine, private Michelin chef, and I need it to start tomorrow, running through the weekend." "That will be a significant cost, ma'am," the clerk hesitated, "and with such short notice?" "Money is no object," I cut her off. "We have an unlimited budget for this. My director, Kevin, wants to reward the staff with the absolute best. Send the contract and invoice right now. I will pay in full up front." I hung up. My heart was pounding, not from fear, but from the thrill of someone lighting a fuse. This project would not bring profit to the company. It would bring memories, the most expensive memories Kevin ever paid for. I opened my drawer and pulled out the black card. It glinted under the fluorescent light like a weapon, and today it was my weapon. I started typing an email to the entire project team. Subject: urgent dispatch, mandatory team building. Body: per Director Kevin's instructions, all project staff are to participate in a market research and retreat trip starting tomorrow morning. Meet at the yacht marina at 8 a.m. This is mandatory. I hit send. The whoosh sound of the email sending sounded like the opening shot of a war. Kevin wanted me to leave empty-handed, fine, but I was going to make sure that when I left, his wallet would be as empty as the promises he made me. I leaned back in my chair, looking at the ceiling. Tomorrow was going to be a long day, but tonight, for the first time in 5 years, I felt like I was the one running the show. Monday morning, the sun hit the glass building, turning it into a giant oven, but inside Kevin's office, the temperature was tomb cold. Kevin stepped out of the elevator at 9 a.m. His expensive leather shoes clicked on the marble floor, sharp and authoritative. He wore the face of an emperor returning from a tour, ready to receive the tributes of our labor. He expected to see gaunt faces from lack of sleep, dark circles glued to screens, and on his desk, the completed project binder, smelling of fresh ink. But what greeted him was silence. Not the silence of focus, the silence of emptiness. Kevin stood in the middle of the lobby. He frowned, looking around the cubicles. No one. The computers were all dark, no clacking keyboards, no ringing phones, and strangely, no smell of the office, no old paper, burnt coffee, or stress. Instead, the air drifted with a strange scent, fresh lilies, expensive perfume, and wafting somewhere was the sweet smell of evaporated champagne. "Where the hell is everyone?" Kevin muttered, irritation creeping into his voice. He pushed open the door to his private office, and he froze. On the massive oak desk he was so proud of, there was no project binder. Instead, sitting smack in the middle was a silver tray. On it were empty wine bottles, crystal glasses with red dregs, and scattered crumbs of premium butter cookies. Kevin rushed to the desk. He jerked the mouse. The screen lit up. He opened the shared project folder, which should have held hundreds of gigabytes of reports, plans, and growth charts. It was empty. There was only a single image file sitting alone on the white desktop. File name: Q4 Market Research and Team Building Report. Kevin's trembling finger double-clicked the file. The photo opened. It was not a revenue chart. It was a group selfie. In the photo, the entire project team, the people Kevin thought were exhausted from the deadline, were standing on the deck of a luxury yacht. They were wearing white linen, holding wine glasses, beaming under the brilliant golden sun of the ocean. And standing in the middle, raising her glass the highest, with the most satisfied smile, was me. Kevin stared at the photo. His eyes bulged. His breathing became shallow and ragged. "What the hell is this?" he hissed. "That's the project deliverable, Kevin," a voice rang out from the sofa in the corner. Kevin jumped and spun around. He had been so focused on the screen, he didn't notice me. I was sitting there, on his genuine leather guest sofa, legs crossed comfortably. I was not wearing my usual drab gray office wear. Today, I wore a wine-red silk dress, light makeup, and in my hand was a glass of wine, the kind Kevin bragged about keeping in his cabinet for special occasions. "Sarah?" Kevin gasped, voice cracking with shock. "What are you doing here? Where is everyone? Where is the project? Why are you drinking my wine?" I swirled the glass gently, watching the liquid move. "The project is complete, boss, and this," I pointed to the computer screen, "is the result." "The result?" Kevin screamed, his face turning beet red. "A eutation photo? You call this a $1 million project? You're insane! You've ruined everything! I'm firing you! I'm suing you for destruction of company property!" He lunged toward me, but I didn't flinch. I calmly placed the wine glass on the table. The clink of the base hitting the glass cut through his rage. "You don't need to fire me, Kevin," I said, my voice icy but crystal clear, "and you can't sue me." "What did you say?" He stopped, panting, fists clenched. "You used company money to travel. You threw a party on company time. This is embezzlement. It's theft." "No, Kevin, this is market research and team bonding," I retorted, looking him dead in the eye, sharp as a scalpel. "Remember, you signed an unlimited budget for this category last week before you went golfing. You said, spend whatever is necessary to keep the team morale high. You signed that blank check because you were too lazy to read the details." I pulled a thin folder from my purse and tossed it on the table in front of him. Kevin snatched the folder. He flipped through the pages, hands shaking. Receipts, dozens of receipts from five-star resorts, Michelin restaurants, yacht charters, and imported wine invoices. All of them had his electronic approval signature next to the words "valid expense." But this amount," Kevin stammered, sweat beading on his forehead. "Over $50,000? You blew the entire contingency budget in 3 days?" "Correct," I smiled, a smile that did not reach my eyes. "You always told us to treat the company like home, to spend company money like it was our own. So I did exactly that. I spent it the way you spend it, on luxury experiences. I treated the team to the food you eat, the wine you drink, and the resorts you stay at." "You are crazy," Kevin yelled, throwing the folder on the floor. "You think you can get away with this? This is blatant waste. I'm calling HR. I'm calling legal. You're going to jail." He grabbed the desk phone, dialing furiously. "Hello, Linda, get down to my office now. Get the corporate lawyer too. We have a thief, a sabotage." I sat still, watching him thrash like a fish out of water. I took another sip of wine. The tartness on my tongue turned into a sweet aftertaste. Delicious. The taste of freedom. 5 minutes later, the door opened. Linda, the HR director, walked in. With her was Mr. Smith, the company lawyer. "What is it, Kevin? Why are you screaming?" Linda asked, frowning at the mess in the room. "Arrest her." Kevin pointed a shaking finger at my face. "She embezzled the entire project budget to go on vacation. She destroyed Project Phoenix. Look at these receipts." Linda picked up the receipts from the floor, examining them closely. She pushed up her glasses, then looked at the lawyer. A heavy silence filled the room. "Kevin," Linda said, her voice terrifyingly calm, "these receipts are fully valid." "What?" Kevin's jaw dropped. "The approval signature is yours," the lawyer added, a monotone voice, "and under the new financial delegation policy, which you proposed to the board last month to give yourself spending freedom, the project lead has the discretion to determine team-building activities, provided they are pre-approved by the director. Here, you signed a blanket approval. Legally, Sarah has done nothing wrong." "But what about the project?" Kevin turned to the blank computer screen. "She did not submit the report. She did not work." "Oh, about that." I stood up, smoothing out my silk dress. I walked to the desk, standing opposite Kevin. "The project is complete, Kevin, just not the way you thought." "What do you mean?" "I completed the most important part of the project, proving just how exploited the current staff is, and more importantly, I saved the company a huge amount of money in the future." "Saved money?" Kevin looked at me, eyes bloodshot with madness. "That's right, saved on severance packages and end-of-year bonuses." I pulled the final piece of paper from my bag, the one I found in the jammed printer, the termination plan. "You planned to fire me on Monday right after I submitted the project, didn't you, Kevin?" I held the paper up to his face. "You wanted to squeeze me dry and toss the rind. You wanted to steal my credit for your promotion, then kick me to the curb so you wouldn't have to pay out the 10-year service bonus." The color drained from Kevin's face. He looked at the paper, then at Linda. The HR director sighed, shaking her head. She knew about the plan, but she never expected it to be exposed like this. I know you hate spending money, Kevin, I continued, stepping closer, backing him against the wall. I used to pinch every penny of our salaries, but you throw money around for your own pleasures. So I helped you spend the money you were planning to steal from me. Consider it an early bonus. You, Kevin wheezed, deflated. You destroyed my career. Without this project, the board will kill me. That sounds like a you problem, I shrugged. You're the director. You get paid the big bucks to solve crises, remember? Or do you only get paid to play golf? I turned to Linda and the lawyer, nodding politely. I trust everything is in order. I didn't breach my contract. I simply exercised my authorized powers. I turned back to look at Kevin one last time. He looked pathetic, crumpled in his expensive suit, standing amidst empty wine bottles, the remnants of a party he paid for but was not invited to. Here, I placed a white envelope on the desk, right next to the receipts. You planned to hand me a termination notice today, but sorry, I don't like being passive. This is my resignation letter. Keep it as a souvenir. You planned to fire me on Monday. I fired myself on Friday. I spun around and walked out of the office. The sound of my heels clicking on the floor echoed, every step shedding tons of pressure that had weighed on me for 10 years. Behind me, I heard Kevin collapse into his chair, and the sound of receipts fluttering to the floor like autumn leaves. The office door closed behind me with a decisive click, a sound even sweeter than a popping champagne cork. I walked out of the building, taking a deep breath. The air outside was hot and smoggy, but to me, it was fresher than any air I had ever breathed in that air-conditioned glass box. I took out my phone and dialed a number that had reached out to me last week, Kevin's direct competitor. "Hello," I said, voice calm and confident. "This is Sarah. I accept your offer. And I'm bringing a housewarming gift, the entire top-tier talent team from my old company. Yes, we can start tomorrow." 2 weeks passed in the blink of an eye, and the atmosphere around me has changed completely. It's no longer heavy, smelling of mold and fear like the old glass cage. Here, at the competitor's new office, the place Kevin used to mock as amateurs, the air smells of new beginnings, of lemongrass oil and fresh plants in every corner. I stepped out onto the sun-drenched balcony holding a small tray. On it was a steaming espresso and a pristine white plate holding a single pink macaron. I sat in a comfortable wicker chair, tilting my face to catch the warm autumn sun. The breeze played with my hair, carrying the breath of freedom. I lifted the espresso and took a deep breath. Premium Arabica, brewed from the fancy machine in the staff pantry. It didn't have the burnt, sour taste of the cheap instant coffee Kevin used to buy to help the staff stay awake. This coffee was bold, aromatic, with a sweet finish. I took a sip. The hot liquid slid down my throat, waking up every sense. Strange, I drink coffee every day for 10 years, but it never tasted this good. Maybe because it wasn't mixed with the bitter taste of submission. I put the coffee down and picked up the macaron. I took a small bite. The crisp shell shattered, revealing the sweet and tart raspberry filling. The sugar hit my tongue, rushing to my brain, sparking a childlike joy I'd forgotten long ago. This cookie wasn't expensive, a few dollars at the bakery downstairs, but to me it was worth more than a lavish banquet, because I bought it with my first paycheck from the new job, a salary 40% higher than what Kevin paid me after 10 years, plus a signing bonus for bringing over the talent team. I was eating the taste of respect. I looked through the glass wall. Inside, my old colleagues, people who used to be withered and broken under Kevin, were working passionately. Laughter and lively debate replaced the dead silence. They weren't soulless typing machines anymore. They were humans, being treated like humans. My phone buzzed on the table. I glanced at the screen, a familiar number flashing.
Kevin. This was his 15th call this week. I could imagine him sitting in that empty office, hair messy, panicking about how to explain the missing team and the budget deficit to the board. Maybe he was calling to beg me to come back, promising a raise, a promotion, or maybe to threaten me with the weak curses of a defeated man. Before, seeing his name would make my heart seize with anxiety. But now, watching that name dance on the screen, I felt nothing but a strange indifference, like watching a fly buzz outside a window, annoying but unable to touch you. I did not answer. I did not mute it. I simply pressed block. Simple. Decisive. The number vanished, taking the last ghost of the past with it. I put the phone face down and returned to my half-eaten macaron. The raspberry tasted even richer. Some might think I was cruel. They might say I destroyed a man's career, that I bit the hand that fed me. But they did not see that the food was rotten long ago. They did not see that Kevin was planning to smash the bowl after he was done eating his share. I spent 10 years building that project. I watered it with sweat, tears, and blood. And when I realized Kevin was going to steal it for his own glory and kick me to the curb, I made a choice. Instead of letting my hard work fatten up an exploiter, I decided to eat it. I converted the soulless numbers on a spreadsheet into real experiences for me and my team. Project Phoenix burned to the ground. True, but from those ashes, it was not Kevin who rose. It was me and my team. We rose as free people who know our worth. Life is too short to drink bitter coffee and eat dry bread while someone else feasts on your labor. And that's my story, dear listeners, the story of the day the model employee decided to rebel. What do you think about Sarah's actions? Was she too extreme, or was it a fitting punishment for a toxic boss? Where is the line between dedication and being exploited? Kevin lost his career, but Sarah also burned the company budget. Some call her a saboteur, some call her a hero. What do you call her? If you have ever been in a similar situation, please share your story in the comments. Would you dare to act like Sarah, or would you leave in silence? If this story touched you, please give it a like. It motivates me to bring you more stories of people standing up for themselves. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. We have many more stories of epic comebacks waiting for you. And remember, you do not owe anyone anything except yourself. Thank you for listening. Have a productive day, and don't forget to treat yourself to a really good cup of coffee, because you deserve it.